Hello and welcome to the third chapter, the third lesson in Marketing 520, Services Marketing. And this chapter 3 is about positioning your service in the market. And again, you might have come across this, well, definitely in another postgraduate marketing class or maybe in undergraduate class, how you actually position then. So you're looking at your strategy. What is your market segment? What are the attributes for your service? How you distinguish yourself from other brands? What is a good position? And at the end, we're going to look at positioning maps. So, your strategy. So, you need to understand how you're actually going to get this service out into the market. How are you actually going to have a strategy? Is it something that's general, like general hospital services, and so you're looking just to find the people who want to buy private healthcare? Is it education? Of course, these segments will be divided. So if you're a hairdresser, you would tend just to have female customers. If you're a barber, you might only have male customers. Depending on the type of barber you are, you might have young male customers or you might have older male customers. You know, it's up to you to decide how you actually want to market this service. And part of that is understanding what are you good at? What is it that you can use to distinguish yourself from the other companies in the market? So you're looking at opportunities, what is actually out there. So for example, in North Cyprus, we have a very large number of foreign students. And so you might decide that you want a hairdresser or a barber shop actually more specifically for international students. Like, so for instance, you might want something that would work for African students because they style their hair in a different way. At the barbers, they cut their hair in a different way. And you might find that there's nobody doing that. And so you've actually found it a niche, as it were, to actually do these things. Obviously, you don't want a market that's too small. You know, you need customers, but you need to find that specific market that you want to focus on. So it could be a narrow market that you give a lot of services to, and you need to understand how customers are actually going to purchase this service. Or it could be that you have a very narrow range of services, like you're only fitting tyres, or you're only checking tyres for MOTs, but you would do that for all types of vehicles. And then as new segments are added, you need to know very much about these segments. Some people are just totally unfocused, and this is very dangerous because you become nothing to everybody. You know, the best way with a product or service is to have something very specific to actually target. So the market segments, there's different types of customers, there's different segments. So often we might do this by age. There's a life cycle. So for instance, after school, we have university students, young single working people, then people get married, then they have children, they have families, then those children leave home, and then they become elderly people at home on their own. And so you can understand, like, through that life cycle, people want different things. So when people have families, they might want a babysitting service, a private tutor, a dentist for young people. But when they're older, they might want a different type of dentist who specialises in, I was going to say dentures, you know, like older people, they lose their teeth, the dentistry is different, or they need private healthcare, or they need somebody to help them with cooking at home, you know, so things change over time. Another thing that they do in the UK is they would market by social scale. So in the UK they use 5, A, B, C, D, and E. So, you know, you've like the extremely wealthy down to the very poor. In America they do that by 12. They have 12 different layers of segmenting people. In America also they segment people by their ethnicity, really, you know, whether it's a white market or a Afro-American market or a Hispanic market. So in each country, you know, they have different ways of actually targeting the customers that they're trying to find. So what are the attributes about your service? Who's going to use the service? What is it for? What is the timing involved? Do people use it on their own? Do they use it in a group? Who are that group of people? These are the type of things you need to think about. And consumers are looking at different things, so they need to know that you're special, that your service is extra special, and that's why it's worth buying into. And so you should do, like, you know, a SWOT analysis of your company, you know, to actually find out what are your strengths and whether you can make those strengths even stronger so that the customers will actually come to you. So, you know, with products, we can understand attributes like something is the biggest or the highest quality, but it's a lot more difficult with services. So if it was car hire, we could say that the cars that we have to hire are more reliable cars, or that they're faster cars, or we could say that our train service or our airplane service is actually faster. But many of these things are comfortable, they're qualitative, such as, is this train comfortable? Is this bus comfortable? Is the noise level acceptable in this restaurant? And that's not something, you know, that possibly a customer thinks about until they come to your restaurant or cafe and they leave because they can't have a conversation with somebody because it's so noisy. So sometimes a customer will look at all these things and will play them off one against the other. Some people are thinking more about the price, so they don't really care that the bus is a little bit slower because the ticket is much cheaper. And so they don't really care so much. When people are looking for a low price, they realise that they can't expect a very high level of service there. So how do you position yourself? How do you distinguish yourself from these other people in the industry? You have to be distinctive. One message, set yourself apart. As I said, you would do a SWOT analysis to actually find that. And you have to try and find something, if you can, that can't be copied by other people. So this diagram is showing us the principles of positioning. What is the value? Why are we different? How can we target our customers? How can we strengthen ourselves? You know, is there any change that we need? What do current customers think about us? Which is why in consumer behaviour, marketing people are often giving questionnaires or interviewing customers because they're trying to find out very specific information. Because while you think your brand of service is very important, you can't actually know what customers understand unless you ask them. And what customers have we got now? What customers would we like in the future? So how do you develop this strategy with market analysis, looking at the geography, looking at the size and the potential of different segments, and looking about how customers think about you, and also how they think about the competition as well. You know, what is it that they like about the competition? You know, what can you do to make yourself a much more attractive company? And so you'll be looking at your resources. And with service companies, one of the most important resources, of course, is the people within that company. You know, it's not easy to find people who are really good at dealing with customers. And so when you have them, it's very important that you actually learn how to keep them and how to motivate them as well. And also, you do need to look at your competitors. Like if you're a restaurant, you're going to go to their restaurant, see what they're doing. Or if it's an airline service, isn't it? You're going to use that airline as a customer to see how it differs to yours. And so you would do your analysis, you're going to look at the market, you're going to look at the internal resources of the company and the values and the company and the problems that there are, and actually make a competitive analysis of what's the best plan of action, the best strategy to market your service. And so you might find people copy you straight away. This happens a lot where they copy the type of business model that you've organised, even though it's new. Other things that you could do is, you know, change the prices up or down, believe it or not. You could actually make yourself more expensive. so that customers think that you're more exclusive and suited to their lifestyle. And then you look at different segments in the services. And then here's an idea for you. Use a map to actually think about yourself and the competitors. So I'll show you. There's an idea of some hotels in a place in America. And what they've got is this x-axis. They're actually looking at, is something expensive or is it less expensive? And is something a high-level service or moderate? So I don't know any of those hotels on that list actually, apart from the Sheraton. And what we can see about the Sheraton is it's in the middle. So if a hotel's in the middle, that's sort of meaning that it's not expensive, it's not cheap, it's not good service, it's not bad service. It's become middling. And that's often a position that's not good. You know, it's much better to be specific. I want to be a very high-level service, high-quality hotel, and put myself at the top, which we can see there, the Grand and the Regency are well established there. And then in the less expensive, these are probably like the American motel type hotels that we can see on the other part of the axis. And then this is another different way of looking at the hotels in terms of their location and how luxurious they are. And so again, we see the Sheraton very much near the centre. It's a slightly luxurious hotel. It's not in the finance district, it's not in the suburbs. Because again, the position of a hotel is very important. If it's in town, people want it to be absolutely totally in town, especially tourists. If it's near the airport, then it should be right next to the airport, not a few kilometres away. You know, positioning, location there is very important. And then if you're selling it as a luxury hotel, then everything about those rooms for those customers should actually be very luxurious. And what this map is actually showing us then different ones of the Sheraton there. What should it actually do to actually move in to compete against the things like the Marriott and the Continental? So they've got Marriott there, but I would say from my own experience, I wouldn't have put the Marriott as expensive or high service. I would have put them somewhere in the middle, and the Sheraton in that place actually. But it's an idea, isn't it, to actually use some different axes to actually think about you and your service and how you actually compare to your competitors. And so this map is actually showing us some movement after some decisions where we can see that some hotels have moved from a financial district into towards the suburbs and into more luxurious, you know, they've been fitted out to make them a nicer hotel. So the maps, they help you to visualize the strategy, and it's a really good way of actually seeing where your competitors are compared to you. And what you can actually do is you can actually get customers, you know, you can actually use questionnaires that include things like these maps and actually say things like, how do you feel the hotel is close to you? And, you know, they put the you in the center of the map. Or where do you see this hotel in terms of luxury or in terms of location? And then you might decide, because of that mapping, to actually compete at a different position within the service industry. So you might revise your ideas to become maybe more moderate with lower pricing, or to become more luxurious, or to actually, after an amount of thinking, to get rid of some of the services because you realize people are not actually going to buy into them. And so you would become much more focused then. So thank you for listening to chapter 3. Bye.